Our guest is a cancer survivor turned tech entrepreneur. Today, she's here to share how digital well-being can improve the lives of women affected by breast cancer. Please welcome Inna Shchepanska.
Hi, Daniel.
Bonjour. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Je m'appelle Daniel.
Enchanté.
That's everything I learned.
That's more than enough. I think this can get you a long way.
I was traveling, I think it was 2022, and I decided I'd go backpacking. And I went to England, I went to Ireland, and then I went to France. And I ended up in Carcassonne in the southern part of France. And I didn't know a lot about Carcassonne until I got there, and I spent some time inside the walled city. And as I was drinking some coffee, a lady walked two dogs down the alley, and they were the most ugliest dogs I've ever seen. And I stopped her and I said, "Your dogs are so ugly, but they're cute. What are they?" She said, "Oh, these are French bulldogs." And I said, "Wow, I got to have one." So that was 2002. I ended up getting a French bulldog in around about 2014. So I'd first seen the French bulldog in Carcassonne, then I had one here in Taiwan.
Great. And how they, I've heard that they are lovely creatures.
It was
One
a
of the
terrible
best in the
experience.
world. No?
It would bite me. And so one day I came home and I had a beautiful woolen suit that I had just bought in Dubai. And I walked inside the house after being on a 10-hour overnight flight, and I was still in my suit. And when I got home, the dog jumped up and attacked me and bit me on the inside of the leg and tore a big hole in this brand new $2,000 suit. And so I'm yelling, I'm screaming, I'm bleeding. And the wife came out and said, "What did you do to the dog?" I said, "Nothing." I said, "I just got home after traveling, been working to feed it." She said, "It bit you." And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, what's your suit made out of?" I said, "It was made out of wool." She said, "It probably thought you were a sheep." So that was my experience. But
So
a
no dogs
wonderful
since then?
one more dog. I've got a golden retriever. He's only 8 times her size. So I went from a small compact to the double XL, and he's right here with me.
Oh, sweet.
He's a good dog. Now, you've been on a interesting journey. What was your health crisis?
Um, that's a nice start of the conversation. The health crisis was breast cancer at the age of 41. And long journey, it seemed like, without end of treatment. But then I was hoping that I was actually sure that once the treatment is over, I will go back to the life that I had before. But I was very, very wrong. I discovered that life after cancer can be as challenging as the life during cancer. When you're in treatment, you're surrounded by doctors and nurses, and you go regularly to the hospital. You know your protocol. Once your treatment is over, you're going to the life with new body, new perspectives, harsh experience, and there is nobody around to tell you what to do. That's how I started discovering um, this reality of post breast cancer or any other serious illness, to be honest with you. And I started talking about this on YouTube. And because I had an experience in tech, um, some of my friends told me, well, why won't you combine your tech experience with this sharing about the life after breast cancer into something that would help other people, other women? And that's how I started working on Spark and Heal. It's a place where I help women to regain a better quality of life after breast cancer.
Mm. I think in life we're prepared for a lot of skills, like before and after. If we're young and we don't have a driver's license, we've got to catch the bus, we've got to catch the train, we've got to ask mum and dad for permission to go somewhere. But as soon as we get our driver's license, we're kind of free to explore the world in any way, shape, or form. And it's quite easy because we can see people, what they do in their car. My friend's going to the beach, my friend's going to the snow, my friends are going to the mountains. It's very easy to understand. But for a lot of people who are going through cancer treatments, a lot of it's behind closed doors. And so people don't really understand what's happening behind those closed doors. For example, I was doing a podcast recently with one of my friends, Christopher, and he's one of our clients using our technology. And he was diagnosed with brain cancer 2.5 years ago, and he was given 6 weeks to live. And the preparation from the doctors was, you've got 6 weeks to live. This will be your last Christmas. Just go home and tidy up your affairs. And that was it. But he's been alive for 2.5 years. But what he's had to endure on the back end with the treatments and the radiation necrosis and the fatigue and the change in body is something that he was never prepared for. And when we learned what he went through, it's kind of shocking because you can't comprehend it. We can't imagine it. So for you, once you had your diagnosis and you started to go through your treatment, what did that journey look like?
I would say that the treatment was easy because I knew exactly what was going to happen. I had my protocol for each of the parts of the treatment, chemo, then mastectomy, then radiotherapy. I knew more or less what I would experience on the way, again, very roughly, but still. And I could always call my doctor. I had a phone number I could call 24/7 and ask a question, or the medical team. So I think that that was less surprising journey for sure than the after treatment. But clearly, what happens with breast cancer or any serious illness, like the more I think about it, the more I'm sure about it that um, nobody except you and your doctor knows what is happening, right? And I was in this situation with cancer on both sides because 8 years before me, my mom had breast cancer. So I experienced this um, illness as a not really a caregiver because I was not living in the same country with her, but I knew the toll of somebody who has a close family member hit by cancer. And then 8 years later, it was me. So it was completely different. So to resume it all, even though the treatment is straightforward and you kind of know what to expect, a lot of processes is happening inside. And the
Mm,
problem with cancer in particular, that when you lose your hair and like you have anemia, you look kind of pale, and like different people have different reactions, but you clearly can see that person goes through the treatment. You physically look sick, but from the moment you physically look healthy, the outside world starts treating you differently while you're still in pain and healing. So this is a dichotomy of this whole world of cancer.
mm. I saw my father in law go through cancer, and it was pre pandemic. And he had a tooth extracted and then a tooth replacement. And after that tooth replacement, cancer started to grow in the jaw and then in the lymphatic system. And from the outside, he looked perfectly healthy from the outside. But when they started to do discoveries, they realized that there was about 40 infected lymph nodes. So when he went in for the early operation, they said, be prepared that if we find something else, we'll remove it at the same time. And so he went in to the operation in the morning. And by the time he came out at night time, they had cut him open from his lip all the way down here to his neck and basically had just pulled back the face, removed the cancer from the jaw and all the affected lymph nodes, and sewed him back up. But we weren't prepared for what the operation would look like afterwards. So his head from his shoulder, from his collarbones up, had swollen, and his head looked like a basketball. There was no definition; it was just round and swollen. Uh, the skin was tight, the eyes were inflamed, the nose had almost just disappeared. There was almost no shape to the ears. It was just like a big swollen mess. And I walked in there and I knew it was him, but he was unrecognizable after the operation. And for me, it was that first shock as an outsider watching somebody go through it like, oh my gosh, I never thought that's what it would look like after the operation. And then over the years, he had to go back for other treatment and then he had to learn how to speak again. And so it had a major impact on the things that he wanted to do. Although he's still surviving, he's healthy, he's in remission. There's things that have taken years to heal. 5 to 6 years later, he's still on that healing journey. And it doesn't stop from good diet to good sleep to ongoing support. But it limited a lot of things that he's done in that time. So from an outsider, it's interesting, even with hair loss. We caught up with a girlfriend last week who was diagnosed with ovarian cancer and had a lot of her reproductive organs removed. And she went through the hair loss. And it's cruel to see what happens. And from an outsider, all you can do is watch. There's nothing that we can do to take that other person's pain away. And in a way, it kind of evokes a little bit of guilt. Like, I'm sitting here, I'm healthy, but there's not much I can do for you other than wish you well. But you've seen it from both sides. You've seen it from your mother's side, but you've also gone through it personally. What was the difference going through it than watching your mother go through it? What was the difference for you?
I guess it's like with every abstract or yeah, like big thing, like um, we can imagine, I don't know, when we are little, we are imagining how is it to, I don't know, be a doctor, a designer, I don't know, to have a profession. How is it to be adult and operate in the professional world? But then it's completely different when we grow up and we are there. Or like how is to be in love? I can hear somebody tell me, but I will not really get it until I'm there. Same with illnesses like cancer. It was hard. When my mom was going through this, I thought she would die. I was not able to sleep or to eat properly for a long time. I was worried about her, and it manifested physically and quite, yeah, and emotionally. But nothing can prepare for when you are going to experience similar stuff. I knew that I am like on a red carpet towards breast cancer, and my mom had it because um, yeah, like at least 50% chance. So I was regularly checking uh, uh, with gynecologist. Yeah, so going through regular check, but nothing prepared for the word breast cancer said by the doctor, and nothing could prepare me for the treatment that I was going through, because how my mom described it in her own words and how I experienced this was completely different. There were two reasons for that. First, she was much older than me when she had breast cancer, and her treatment was different. She had a different type of breast cancer, and so her treatment was aggressive, but the side effects didn't manifest themselves with similar force than when I was going through this. I took all the stories from my mom into like into my head, and I was saying to myself, okay, so I have 3 weeks between chemos. Okay, like I will stay at home for 2 days after chemo, and then I can go and travel to see her, to see my other friends, to I don't know, go to museums, kind of use this sick leave to just do things that I would not normally do. Um, Little did I know that after my chemo, I would just stay 1 week in bed. I had difficulties moving or even standing. I couldn't stand more than 1 minute. The chemo it was quite a strong chemo, but it had such a strong side effects on me that I was unable to venture far away from my apartment, yet alone to travel and see my parents. So it's a very unique experience, even though we have tons of literature, tons of free resources online, and we read about all the side effects and we read about everything that happens, but every single person has their own unique experience that they have to go alone, surrounded by doctors and caregivers, but um, it's still quite a lonely journey.
Mm. Out of the side effects, which one shocked you the most?
Hmm. Losing hair in my nose.
Well, that's a good thing for us men.
Because yeah, because it seems actually logically, like with chemo you lose your hair, like all your systems kind of weaken, your endocrine system gets um, damaged, yeah, like all these new cells are killed by chemo, and so obviously hairs in the nose, but I didn't realize how much hairs I had inside my nose and how important it was, so that was quite a shocker.
Did you notice a difference in the ability to breathe through the nose? Because when we're breathing through the nose, those nose hairs are filtering all the air that's coming in, and air that we breathe through the nose, it gets infused with nitric oxide. So it's very good to go straight to the prefrontal part of the brain. And could you notice the difference? Was it maybe I should ask this, in the southern part of France, are you more of a dry or a more of a humid climate?
Well, here is a little bit more dry, but I just recently moved here, so my cancer treatment I spent in Berlin, in Germany.
Hmm.
So it was different climate, but the thing is that they also filter like everything that comes with it,
Mm.
and they retain moisture and then moisturize the inner walls of the nose. And so when my hairs fell off, like it was just really dry and bleeding because the skin became very brittle, very thin. So that was the most unpleasant, one of the most unpleasant effects, which I was clearly not prepared for.
Mm. I, I've experienced very dry climates. I was in Korea just 3 weeks ago, and the dew point is really low, so the air is really dry. And we're only there for 3 days, and I already had blood boogers inside of my nose. Like after 3 days, I'd get these hard flakes of blood and mucus come out, and that was 3 days.
Hmm.
But long term, it must be very uncomfortable.
Well, you just had to deal
It's,
with it, and the good thing was that I knew at some stage it would be over.
mm, nice for it to be over. You've been through this experience, but you've also got 13 years of tech experience. How did you bring these two opposing worlds together, and what are you doing to support women with breast cancer?
Long story short, tech experience brings you a different type of thinking. Probably like any profession, create some sort of automatic thinking and reaction and skills that you can use elsewhere. At some stage, I thought I would be done with the tech world. I wanted, I was aspiring to doing something more real, without having the screen as a shield between me and people. I explored different things. I became a yoga teacher and massage therapist, and yeah, I try to explore all of these things to just be closer to people, to be in direct contact with people. But it turned the full circle as I was recovering, like in the remission and experiencing this new life after breast cancer, which was kind of horrifying in the beginning, especially because there is nobody to give you a protocol of the life after cancer. And as I was talking about this on my YouTube channel, and I mentioned earlier, my friends told me, like, yeah, just amplify your voice. And that's what we usually do in tech. We like amplify, scale what you're doing. So I scaled it, or I have been scaling it because it's still work in progress, to creating a community and to creating a program for women who can embark on this program and um, understand in a short time what is going to happen them. And so in the program, I provide them support as a coach myself, but I also work with other coaches, other holistic coaches, which give a sense of um, how to reposition yourself in this world, how to ground yourself. It took me personally like slightly over 2 years to find the balance where I am now. And I hope that with this program, I can shorten this time for other women, working with sleep coach, for example, or nutrition coach, movement specialist, grief coach, um, to kind of address all the immediate problems that these women are experiencing when they go and live their normal life, um, and therefore give them the quality of life back. Because I remember what a hard time it was for me to get this quality of life, and honestly, I don't wish it to anyone. So that's the kind of support I'm providing. It's a little bit less tech today that I envisioned this. The original idea was to build like fully 100% platform with automation and with like fancy algorithms and AI that would help each woman, help guide each woman to create a personalized plan for them. At some stage, I had a co-founder, but then we split. And um, long story short, I decided that maybe this hardcore tech would not be would not be happening as fast as I want, because I needed to raise money. I started um, like to understand how much like certifications and different uh, safety protocols I would need to host all this health data on the platform, that I just took this project and put it slightly on the side. And instead of doing like heavy tech, I created this program where I'm just interacting with these women together with other holistic coaches. So it's somehow a little bit what I envisioned, being more closer to people, at the same time providing the scale. So it's less tech at the moment, um, but my aspiration is that as I grow and as I just earn more revenue and more credibility in this space, then I will move into this really big
Mm.
tech project.
I like that word community. And I think it's important in anything that we do. I was an athlete for many years, and there was a community of athletes who I regularly rode with. There was people I rode with at the cable ski park. There was people that I rode with on the river. And by having a community, it enabled us to push one another and achieve our goals faster, because there was always somebody who had already done what you want to do. It might be a trick, it might be a competition, it might have been getting a sponsor. And having a community of people, you didn't have to learn through trial and error. You could just go to that person and say, "You've done this particular trick. Teach me how to do it. You've overcome that particular knee problem. How do I overcome mine?" And you don't have to learn through trial and error. It happens really quick. And what I love about community is because people come together for a particular time to solve a particular problem. It's laser focused on one thing without the distraction of the world. And I think we've all had that distraction before. We go onto Facebook and we look at something, and now we're watching cat and dog videos, or we're watching some war in some other region of the world. There's so many distractions, but when you can find that community and it's just around one topic, it's so easy. And especially in a healing community, you can start to get those healing ideas. And the perspective of a yoga teacher is going to give you a different perspective on healing than a medical doctor. And it's not as if it's competitive, it's complementary, because you can learn it from two different perspectives, and you got to find, how does your body heal? From life coaches, they can give you a different perspective of how emotions can impact your organs. From a psychologist, they can talk to you about how early childhood experiences can create conflict and how that conflict can lead to cancer later on. So you can start to heal that inner child. So I think community is just such an important thing in everything we do.
This is true, especially when it comes to any kind of healing, because when you hear a testimony of somebody who has been through the same experience 1 year ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, it gives you so much hope. Even though with breast cancer in particular, we know that the survival rate is extremely high. It's um, over 90% in the Western countries. So we know kind of that this is the, but yeah, this is the most researched cancer in the world, and we know that survival rate is extremely high. Yet each breast cancer survivor has this fear of recurrence constantly. Like, I don't know, something is itching, your knee is scratching, and you think cancer returned. So you also feel in this fear, some more often than the others, but it always come back. But when you hear people, especially with like crazy difficult metastatic cancers, or like stage 4, stage 3 cancers, like you hear these crazy stories, and like your friend who lives much longer than his doctor announced to him, um, that's gives a lot of hope, that gives a lot of confidence. And alongside that, like all of this progress in medicine, in the scientific field, kind of puts you more like makes you stronger.
Mm. What do we call it in tech? Big data. And
Hmm.
communities like big data as well. Everybody's got the answer to everything.
Yeah.
You've just got to find the person. And with a
Hmm.
community, at least they're there and they put their hand up. Like, I've had this problem. Here's my solution. So if
Yeah.
somebody is on that journey going through breast cancer, they've just been diagnosed, they're in recovery, where can they find more about the work you're doing, and where can they find your community?
Well, they can type my name in the Google search. It's Inna Shchepanska. It's a difficult spelling, but there are not so many Inna Shchepanskas, and they will immediately land on the page of the community, which is at the moment absolutely free. So they can join the community, they can start interacting. There is quite a lot of information, or rather enough information to get them idea of what this community is about. And it's mainly about quality of life, how to cope with secondary effects during chemo and after chemo. And then through this community, if they they're interested, they can book a call with me, so I can explain them everything about the program. And of course, if they want to go through the program, they can register for this. And in a few months, we'll hopefully see a positive result, a better quality of life, giving them understanding of all the challenges that they're going through after the active treatment, and giving them enough tools to be stronger and more resilient.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Daniel. Bye.